life that when something precious is taken from us, something precious is usually given to us as well. And often what we receive is empathy and understanding for other people who are suffering.
I was molested.
My mom suffers from severe depression and anxiety.
One of the most traumatic events of my life was in 1969 when we were involved in a flood. In fact, it was a terrible flood. It flooded a lot of the county, and I think all told there were 32 people that were killed. My mother was one of them.
He told me that, Hannah, you have panic disorder.
I wanted to make sure that I came out to my closest friends and closest siblings before I came out to my parents, because I knew that they would not take it well, and I was very correct on that aspect.
When you go through something like that, it's very painful, excruciatingly painful, and it's something that it leaves scars the rest of your life. I mean, it's been 40-some years and I still think about it. There's times that it's, with anybody who's gone through something like that, there's times that it's more difficult. There's times that you just sort of weep alone. You get in the dark someplace and cry until you get it out of you, and then you go on. What else are you going to do?
He always liked to watch cartoons, and he would take me up to the room, and then he shut the door, and he asked me if that was okay, and I don't know when it got to the point of him actually touching me. Nothing was ever done to the person that had sexually molested me. The worst thing about not doing something about it is the person is with children, often, and I always kind of wonder if he did it to other kids, or and if he did, I feel so guilty because I didn't say anything.
When I was growing up, I don't think that I realized how serious the issue was. I don't think I realized in what ways it would affect her and me and ultimately our relationship. So it kind of started with just panic attacks, and maybe some days she wouldn't want to get out of bed, and then it got to the point where it was just she was basically bedridden, and I wouldn't even see her ultimately for days at a time because she just would be in her room all the time and just extremely depressed. My parents divorced when I was in second grade. I don't think that had anything to do with it. Maybe it did. Probably around my junior year of high school was when things really started getting bad. My mom tried to kill herself several times, and as a result of that, she was sent to psychiatric wards in the hospital and whatnot. She was cut off from visitors, so we weren't able to even see her. And I think that it definitely affected our relationship. I don't think that I'll ever be as close to my mom as I would like to, because I've already had so many, I've grown up so much, and it's kind of feels like she's missed all of that. So to a degree, it's when I go home for the holidays or to see her, it's almost like we're kind of strangers. We don't really know each other that well, which is hard, but it's something that I've kind of grown into, I guess. So yeah, I don't know that we'll ever have the typical mother-daughter relationship, the child and the caretaker, because our roles have kind of been reversed.
Watching my mother die, watching the woman who gave me life, the person who I was the closest to in my life, to watch her slap at the water and be carried downstream, and that would be my last image of her. That's pretty tough. There's still a hole in you. It's a hole that will always be there.
I started my first day at work, and I couldn't even get through the first hour of the morning without feeling like I was dying, literally. And I called my parents, and they told me that we're coming to get you, and you're coming back home. You're going to go to the doctor. So my parents came and got me. I cried the whole way home, and we went to the doctor the next day, and the doctor asked me a bunch of questions and took my blood pressure and ran a blood test, and he pretty much came to the conclusion that I was not suffering from any kind of physical disorder. It was an emotional one. We can give you medication to help treat it and help make you feel relatively normal again, but it's something that you're going to have to work on for the rest of your life. Things got better. I moved back to Kentucky, where I eventually finished out my internship, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. But ever since then, it's been a daily struggle to maintain my anxiety levels and not let the littlest of things get to me. Deal with the dizzy spells and the shortness of breath, and I feel like I'm choking half the time. And I mean, the physical symptoms of anxiety are always with me no matter how I'm feeling emotionally. I could be happy, I could be sad, but it's still with me.
Other people I knew didn't have any problems with it or anything like that. So to have, the two people that I felt should have been there for me no matter what were so adamantly against, me being myself, me being happy, was kind of like, an ultimate betrayal. I went through a period of depression, attempted suicide. Through friends and getting involved on campus and everything, I, grew to accept myself. I've worked towards, talking with them, getting them to, even if they can't accept it, at least tolerate it, be there for me and stuff like that. It's still a work in progress, but it has improved some. That gives me the hope that, eventually be able to, not have it be an issue between us.
So it's hard, it's one of those things that it's difficult to make peace with, and yet you do. For me, making peace with it came a lot by studying death, by photographing other people who were dying, others who had trauma, and then eventually the relationship that I had with my God. I don't know how people that have not experienced some deep pain, I don't know how they have perspective on life. I don't know how they can be happy. I don't know how they truly know what light or joy is, unless they've had some darkness and some sorrow.
I think what happens to us in our lives is what makes us who we are.
I think that it's made me stronger, and it's made me learn to love unconditionally. I love my mom. I would do anything for her. It's just, we've had a difficult relationship, I guess, a difficult road. And I know that that's not her fault. I know that she can't control it, that she doesn't want to be depressed, but she can't help it. It's so deeply rooted that it's out of her control, and I don't know, that's just the way it is, I guess.
I think it definitely helps me be a better person. I'm a better human being having gone through it. What she taught me in 17 years stays with me. No doubt I'm a more compassionate person because of her influence. I treat women with more dignity because of her influence.
After everything that's happened, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. I felt like I was dying for over a month, but I still wouldn't trade it for anything because it taught me a lot of lessons, mostly about learning how to be independent and actually learning how to live up to the fact that maybe you're not normal, but that's okay. And instead of denying that you have a problem, just accept it and learn from it and try to deal with it and solve it like as best as you can.
I would hate to have had a life that didn't have hard times, because that really builds the character, and it highlights the value of life. So I count myself to be an optimist and thankful, and try to be a blessing on people, because I had a mother who was a blessing on me.